Hey everybody, it's Seth. Well, there it is. The famous hotel door evacuation plan. Real phenomenal idea as a hotel is to have this evacuation plan, right? It's built to keep us all safe. Well, I've come to learn that in business, we don't need to have evacuation plan. And in fact, it's something that can truly, truly impact our leadership in a very, very negative way. You read about my message, and to tell you the truth, this is going to be another one of those Seth going in Christian mode messages. So don't be offended by it. Just think about your deity, whatever you represent, or whatever you believe in. And if you don't have to listen to the rest of the message. But what I have come to find out, in fact, a lot of the messages that we've been discussing over the last couple of months lead up to this and culminate at this. We talked about the stretch. We talked about the grind. We talked about that boredom that sets in. That's hard to do. And now we're talking about the evacuation plan. Yesterday I had one sentence in there about quitting as option number two when you don't go from E to P and you experience that burnout. Well, it's all about the same thing. And what I've come to find in my life as a leader is I like to think about it with my relationship with God, is I can see myself all the time saying, Lord, give me this opportunity, give me this chance, give me this thing, give me this role, give me this place. And He grants me, fine, you can have this field, Seth. It's your field to plow. Here's your mission. Here's what I'm calling you to accomplish. And that's what I want you to go and do. And then I find out, I get into the field, and like any other field that all of us get into, we find thorns, we find hard work, we find things that are boring, the things that we don't want to do. We find the stretch, we find the grind, we find the boredom, we find all of that. We find that there's snakes here, and they bite us, and it hurts. And this is not as fun. And the results don't always come the speed that we want. The story does not turn out the way we had written it in our head, but we didn't ask for all the details of that. We asked for the field. We asked to be granted that opportunity. We asked for the calling, and we were called to this field. And what happens is when all of that stuff interferes and all that stuff comes in, then we start to look at that field over there. See, what I've come to find out, at least when my belief is that God lets us see the other fields all around us. The interesting thing is, from our perspective, because we're so high and because the fields are so high, we don't see the thorns that are in that other field. We don't see the snakes. We don't see, sometimes they're bigger or worse snakes. And it's the grass is greener on the other side type of syndrome. And what happens is we allow ourselves in this field before we finish our calling, before we finish the work that we were meant to do, we start to create one of those. We start to create an evacuation plan. And it starts with just an idea, just a possibility. Well, there's that other thing. I could, work my way over there, and I know the owner of that field, or I'm connected with that, or I know how to do that kind of work over there, and it just opens as a possibility. And the moment we start to think about that is the moment that we're not fully committed to what we were called to do here on this field. And then you've got to start to think about what that means for you, as a leader, because people cannot follow you when you're not fully committed to this field. If they know there's even a notion that you're thinking about that over there, they cannot be fully committed to you. They can't give you their all because you're not giving yourself your all. You're not giving your field your all, what you were called to do. So you can't receive somebody else's all. That's what it is. Do you make one of these for your marriage? Do you make one of these for the relationships that happen the most? You understand what happens when you do that in relationship, right? When you start to make an evacuation plan, what do? You can't endure, you do bad things, and things start to show up. You're not somebody that's fully committed or giving your all. It's all a pattern of the same thing. So you've got to fight boredom. You've got to fight all of that stuff. You've got to complete. What I have found is that this right here never needs to be made, because what happens, at least in my life, is what I found is God creates that for me. I never need to have an evacuation plan, because when my time is done somewhere or I've completed, He shows up with a plan, and a plan of a replacement, a plan of this is it. You are now finished here. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You must go over here. He forces me out. Sometimes if I try to stay in that field too long, He will push me out. It's never by my design. It's never my plan. If it was my plan, it was really one of those. And what I've come to find is I never need that, because if I'm truly on His plan and doing His work, then He forces me to go in the direction that He wants me to go, and works it all out in that way. So it's all about that. It's not a religious message. It's not a religious message. It is for you if that's what your beliefs are. It is a message about understanding the opportunity that you have and completing your work inside of that. So it's all I've been doing for the last couple of months is teaching you the methods on how to complete that work. This is the reason why you complete it. So I hope that helps.